Sivches here. Chayes Sheteres HaChassidus Nachnisim B'chol Inyona. Never wrote before that all the Inyonim was an Chadish geworden. Through Chassidus is not a separate Inyona that the Chassidus hat aufgetan, wie Meir the wrote from his Alphos. It's not four separate Inyonim. B'shas through the Messiah Chassidus, the Ramam Shechan Chadash from the B'china V'Yichida. That's the Rabbi before Mashiach is B'china V'Yichida. And b'shas this Chayes V'Yichida started to be Nimshach and Veld, automatically Chayes V'Yichida is a Chayes of the Etzem. And when the Etzem is Nimshach, so b'derech HaMeila everything changes. Everything's a Chadash the Chayes Atzim. That's the Nekuda of Sivov. Yeah. So a Chayes Sheteres HaChassidus Machnisim B'chol Inyona Eilam, which the world includes two things. There's Eilam Katan Zeh Adam, a person's own Avedis Hashem, B'chlal the Metzias Adam, there's an Eilam Kipshuteh. So that's nimshach me'achayes shechsidus machniso b'chol inyonei ha'Torah. So the chayes elam is nimshach through the chayes chassidus is machnis b'chol inyonei ha'Torah. Uba de chayesu. The same way the Metzias elam has many pratim. There's seder shlashlos and there's different dargis in the chayes eliki, which is nimshach tevel. There's also different dargis. Nefesh ruach neshama chayah. And the ufta of chassidus is when you're mamsheh the b'china of yichida of kol seder shlashlos. So that's the darga of yichida, which is not a specific madrega in the chayes. Yichida is the core, the etzem, which is the source of everything. Which since the etzem is not only the source, but the Rebbe said earlier that the etzem is beyond being a source. He's shalei be'erech. The prat is to get shiurim of these madrigas. So when the etzem is nimshach, he's not limited that he has to be in a way of removed or that he's beyond prat. The etzem is shtachas hashlemus. The Rebbe brought before he's blikvol, sai blikvol and kamas and sai blikvol and echos. So b'shas the etzem is nimshach. So in Mela all the pratim are also going to have a whole different chayis, a whole different eifim. So that's nimshach from the chayes HaChassidus is mamshach in Torah. In Torah Gufa there's also many halakim. There's pshat, remes, drush, seid, which have the Friedger brings us, but I think it's brought in Kabbalah that the four general categories of Torah, pshat, remes, drush, seid, is connected at all the elements. The same way you have an elam, there's the Atzilas, Bri, Yitzira, Asiyah. There's many pratim in each elam. So al derech zeh, there's four general categories of Torah. There's the way Torah relates to elam Atzilas, the way it relates to Yitzira. And in each world there's a ribi pratim. So the chayes HaChassidus is machlis and veld. Hebt zich met then that there was a Chassidus is namshach a new chayes in Torah. The yichid of Torah was nimshach. It's not three separate things. It's not that the Metzias Olam is totally on the way the Inyona V'Elokus are made in Torah. Shas the darga of Elokus which is made in Torah was the darga of ruach, the darga of ruach shebetayra. The darga of nishmasa deiraisa, not the chidah shubetayra. So al and the world was only nimshach. The darga of Elokus, which has a shaykhis to one of these tziyurim, means the chayes sheba'elam is totally and vasfara darga in Elokus is made in Torah. So the fact that Chassidus is mamshach a new chayes in a yid and a new chayes in veld, that stems from the fact that Chassidus is mamshach a new gili, a new eir in Torah, which is the darga of yichidah shubetayra. That's the So the chayes Chassidus is machnas in veld is nimshach from the chayes Chassidus is machnas b'chol inyonei ha'Torah uba de chayezu. It's through the chayes Chassidus is mamshach in Torah. So you start about Isa bara alma. Torah is everything in the situation of the world is a result of the way things are in Torah. So b'shas there was the new chayes Chassidus in Torah. Mele nimshach gevarn in veld. He called inyonei abriya nimshachim ha'Torah ubayim ha'yoda. It's the two inyanim of nimshachim ha'Torah ubayim ha'yoda. Not only the chatchila they're nimshach from Torah, but every moment the chayes is totally on the eira Torah. So the Rebbe starts explaining here, but Torah dal chalakim. But doing what the Rebbe said before, that there's four b'chinas in the neshama. There's refesh, ruach, and neshama and chaya. There's three dargas of tzir, and then there's a darga of pshitis, and then there's the etzem, which is beyond any tzir at all. So with Torah there's dal chalakim pshat, remes, drush, seid. Toras HaChassidus is not another darga of primus Torah. The Rebbe is masbir here. Chassidus is not another chilik of Torah. Chassidus is the yichida. The same way you speak when you get to Seder Shlashlos. That Chassidus is mamshich. The yichida of Seder Shlashlos. Yichida means not a certain darga of Elokus. Chassidus is mamshich, the very core of everything, the etzem of everything, which is automatically also the etzem of all the madrigas. So there is in Torah. Chassidus is not another chilik of Torah. There's pshat, remes, there's drush, there's kabbalah, and then there is Chassidus. Chassidus is the mahus where everything stems from. It's the primus of Torah where everything stems from this primus. So Toras HaChassidus is the which Rebbe is going to touch up the yichida of Torah, and Toras HaChassidus is machnes chayes b'chol echna. Punkt as the Rebbe said when you get to Welt, that the b'china of yichida, if yichida was a certain darga, a darga of pshitis, in pshat remes, the pshat remes just say. So Kabbalah, let's say someone that Kabbalah doesn't bring a chayes necessarily in pshat. It's two different planes two different planes of reality, two different ways of looking at things. There's looking at things from the way they appear to be begashmis, on the level of pshat, the way things the way they appear to be at face value, and then there's the art of Inyona, the way they are in ilmas alyena, and chveis and ruchnis. It's two separate Inyona. Mashiach and Chassidus is not being megala another layer of things, an outer layer of things. It's the mahus of everything. And since it's the mahus, so it brings out the inner pneumius of every single layer. That's the ufta of Yechida, like everything else. Yechida on one hand, I never brought before from Shemin. On one hand, Yechida is not another darga. Means it's, and he's shalei be'erech, he's beyond any definition at all. But he's the core of everything. And he's the pneumius, he's the inner purpose of all the other halakim which exist. So Misad, the gili of Yechida, that's what Rebbe brings here. Teres HaChassidus brings an achayis b'chol echad. Asher. Nishkin Pashta Inyona. Neisef al zeh, shebeteres HaChassidus, bo b'yurim l'Inyonim sheinim, shebechol dal chalkei HaTorah. This is interessant zach. You have in Chassidus, in Kabbalah, you don't have, there's chilik apshat shebeteirah, or chilik halacha shebeteirah. Where are you going to find the bitter b'Inyoni halacha? In those Sfarim, which Inyonim is, to explain Inyoni halacha. That was brought many times, in the Rambam. Anything the Rambam brings has to relate to the chilik halacha shebeteirah. It doesn't relate to another p'china in Torah. Everything, every sefer, talking about Sfarim Daily Yisrael, so has its function, and what type of Eira Torah were they mamshach? What type of Inyan were they dealing with? So in a sefer which Inyoni is halacha, or Rashi Inyoni is pshat, he deals with pshat. And Rashi Inyoni is not Inyan, but Api Pashtus, he's dealing with pshat, and that's what Rashi deals with. There's no Inyoni of Kabbalah in Rashi. You have other Sfarim which they're in another sefer Inyoni is bring out the diktuk, or you have the Balatorim, Gematriyos. Each sefer, Ramazim, each sefer has his function of what chelik of Torah, what Inyan in Torah. His inyan is to Megal, and that's his inyan. It's not that Rashi, because you say someone's writing a chibur, so he has a chiddush nagoda, so he hacks around a little bit drush also. We're talking about Sfarim of Gedei Yisrael Amitim, so Rashi and Inyona was Pshutish and Mikra, and the only thing that exists in this period is Pshutish and Mikra. There's nothing stamazeh which is not connected to that chelik in Torah. And Al Derez and Al Tereb any chelik in Torah, chelik halacha deals with chelik halacha. Chassidus, so as I was talking, a Maamar the pile with the Iker Inyona used to explain in Seder Shashas, in the Spheres. The pearl, we begin with a pasuk. Once we begin with a pasuk, we're going to ask if you shaylas, and there Chagav will also answer after pshat. The Rebbe sagt nicht das. The fact that in Chassidus you have nu biyurim pashat and pshitish mikra, nu shaylas the pshitish mikra, nu biyurim pshitish mikra. There also you have in Chassidus tivuchim in Kabbalah, different shaylas in Kabbalah. You have in Chassidus a riba tivuchim in pashat and medrash, a riba biyurim in medrash. And you have a riba Inyonim in Tezim Chilik HaRemesh B'Torah. Gematriyos and many Ramazim, different things. Pashat and Chilik HaRemesh B'Torah. You have Maamar which don't only explain concepts of a chayes of Erein Sof or the Bitl Elam. You have Maamar which explain Pashat Ramazim in Chumash, Ramazim in Mishnayos and Gemara also. So Azay, it's not a Derech Hagav. That's because since Chassidus is the P'china of Yechida Shebetayra, once you have the same that Rebbe spoken to Getevelt, why La'aslav is going to be Yisrael Chacham Delim? Why is he going to be the ultimate Chachma? Till now, the Chachma that the Yidden had was a limited Chachma. La'asid is going to be the most perfection of Chachma. Yisrael Chacham Delim. Why? Because La'asid the Primus is going to be this guy. The Primus is ain't safe. Because it's ain't safe, is also the Tachas Hashlemus. Seichel mitzad itself, the tzir of Seichel itself is mugbal. Masha'enkin, the Seichel, the way it stems from the Primus, which in other words, the reason why there's Seichel is because the Etzim is not mugbal. So that seichel is ultimate seichel. It's an expression of the shleimus ha'etzim. So that seichel is nishla. So al derech zeh, since there was a nuam shachar from the p'china of Yechida Shebetayra, the etzim of Tayra, so in Yonim and Pshat was nishla. There's new biyur. The chelik Pshat gufa was perfected. So there's new pirushim Pshat which didn't exist before. The Pshat, the way it was Nizgal earlier, was a darga which is limited to the tzir of Pshat. So it's a certain, not pshat the way it results from the shleimus etzim. Not because the etzim is perfect and there's no chisar and he's bleak full, but mainly also includes the level of pshat. He's also expressed in a level of pshat. So that pshat is a pshat which stems from a shleimus, from a takas shleimus. That pshat is going to be b'shleimus. But the pshat the way it was in Zgala before Chassidus, it's a limited. It's a darga of a course the way he's limited himself to the form of pshat. So there's different agbalas. Say a dogma, just to bring a dogma. I'm saying that the way that I was Maamar earlier, like Abi Yi Yisrael Chacham G'deilim, it's the same concept. Why lost is going to be Chacham G'deilim mitamal? And Yidden were never in such a dark of Chachma before. Not because there's going to be a extra dosage of Chachma lost. Once the etzim is Nizgala, so the premise of where Seichel stems from is Nizgala, that Seichel is B'shleimus. Mashiach Seichel, the way it is before this Galus of Lashon Lavi, is a limited Kayach, and it's in a certain way not fully in touch with its etzem. So that Seichel is lacking. That Chachma is lacking. It's Kenner's and Chacham Gdelu. Chachma, the way it is as a Kayach for itself. We're just thinking about Dugma Ba'alma. You say that, we say, Lo'elam Limed Adam Makim Shalibi Chafetz. A person has a Kayach HaSeichel. A person Kayach HaSeichel, even if he's not interested in the topic that he's learning, he can learn it. You have a Kayach HaSeichel, he can learn it. But if someone has a Geschmack in the topic that he's learning, his Seichel works in a whole different way. When your Nefesh is Melubash in the Indian, the Seichel arbeit in another Eifening Ganzen. So there is, they say in a technical way, Seichel mitzad atzma, so a person can get tired, or a person could, if there's noise, he's not going to be able to function. But if he has a Geschmack in the Indian, so the Kayach HaTainik Shub Nefesh is not limited with all these agbolas. And little noise is not going to bother, is not going to annoy the Kayach HaTainik. Shas, a person has a Geschmack in what he's learning, so the Seichel functions in a more Shleim as the Geif. So al derech zeh, la'os love where it's going to be this galda the pnimi is, but mele every chelik of Torah in its pshat is going to be nishlam, and remez was nishlam. So there's different inyanim in medrash, which we said chelik hadrusha b'Torah itself there was kashis or there was inyanim, and there's new inyanim in chelik hadrusha b'Torah which is this galda through chassidus. So when we learn a Maamar, we think, well, why isn't it get to explain out tivuchim and Kabbalah or all these, or why is there a Maamar that's speaking about the inyanim of tivuchim and medrash? That's the amshach of HaChassidus. And the Rebbe says here, the fact that Chassidus hat upgetan a chayes in Welt, everything stems from Torah. So the fact that Chassidus hat upgetan ba'avedas Adam in the midas of a person, that's because the Chassidus was pale in the chelik hamidish b'Torah, in the drush b'Torah, or in the remesh b'Torah. So that's all a part of Chassidus. The biyurim in drush and the medish, which is not Chassidus, that's a part of Chassidus. That's a new pshat that was nimshach mitzad the shleimus mitzad the gili of the etzem. Yeah, it's nicht the Indian. I'm saying it's not like anybody learns you learn any Chassidus. You see that Chassidus has a Inyona of drush in different Maamar, but you have but the Rebbe gives over here a beer, very strong Zera starke Indian. Yeah. Oh, so it says Neis of Hashem Chassidus bo biurim li Inyonim sheinim shebechol dal chal katayra. This biurim and Allah the kaitzav is Shegam zeh Shel asasvar Chassidus ba v'tei levar chelik haseitzu b'Torah b'lvad. Chassidus came in order to be masber Kabbalah, so why is Chassidus being metavich b'Yirim and Medrash? Ve'ed dvarim kayitzav eilu. So Chassidus is an other inyan. Chassidus is the amshach of Yechidah. It's a whole different inyan. The Torah, the way it's mushish and ein sof, it's an other inyan. Which from there stems all the different suras and efanim in the Gilei Torah. Everything is mushish from Yechidah Yechidah. And Yechidah is the premise of them all. So the Rebbe is like that. So this is nice of Azeh. So according to what the Rebbe is saying, nice of Azeh is not that it's a herzach in the pshat. That's it's a kasha in a Maamar, basic pshat is a mikro, and the Maamar is mevair a new pshat in the Alter Rebbe Kudatera has the mashal many places. Pasha kasha some pshat is a mikro in the psukim. I remember now that there was a few times. There was masber a bir pshat. So that's not that in the pshat herzach chassidus. There's a new beer in pshat. Which was the reason why Chassidus is megal this beard and pshat because mitzad the etzem the mele is the shleimus of all the Inyona prati. But that's one. But the Rebbe adds here limit Chassidus machnes chayis b'chol inyan v'inyan b'chol chalka pshat remes drush shebei shalemtim b'teir. Here's a different word. You have the same you say when you get la'asid lavi. La'asid lavi there's going to be yisach chacham g'delim. That's not stam. The Rebbe doesn't touch it. I'm just saying what the point the Rebbe is saying. It's not stam the yisach chacham g'delim. La'aslav it's a cheren, the chachme, the way it's an expression, the way it's connected to the etzem. Today, seichel is a keich of nasa, it's a keich ha-seichel. Seichel is understanding, and there's midis. La'asid lavi, it's going to be nergash how everything's an expression of the etzem. There's an Eibush which is Ein Sof, and b'meila his truth expressed itself on all forms. So it's not going to, seichel is not just going to be a keich for itself. It's going to be nergash in seichel that it's an expression to Inyan of etzem. So the Rebbe says, "Limit Chassidus machnes chayis b'chol inyan v'inyan." Means anything a person learns. Nishto learned the Maamar Chassidus. Through the fact that it's connected to Chassidus, when he learns a Gemara, he sees a pnimius in the Gemara that he learns. There's a different chayis in the Gemara that he learns. A different chayis in every single subject. Means the herzach how this relates to the pnimius of a lukus, to the pnimius inyan. The Rebbe is going to give a dogma, but every inyan. The Rebbe is bringing the dogma for one inyan, but the concept is that the same way you say when you get the uft of Yechidah is that it's not just that it brings a shleimus in seichel, or this prat or that prat, but it also brings out the pnimius of what seichel is. In seichel is just not just a kayach, or midas are not just a kayach. It's the etzem expressing himself in a form of seichel, or it's the etzem expressing himself in a form of midas. So that's a whole different life to the seichel midas, to the prat. Chamazu is after Zen, or the elam is as a. I don't know. Good. No, I'm not looking for the business that Mazes and Besser. That's another Indian. So in Pshat, Herzach Chayis Atzmi. Oh, and the Rebbe adds here not only that in this is not only that through Chassidus. So in Yeder Pshat, in Yeder Remes, Herzach a certain emes that it's an expression of the truth of the Eibush himself. But it's also Meisiv Gam Behirus V'Eimek Yeser B'Avanas Eini. Pasha the Verstand becomes better. You have one, that was going to bring out in Amidani how there was the Pshat in there. That brings out Dugma, I'm Choshel. But then the Kudah is, every Indian in Torah, it's Nergesh how it stems from the Pnimius. There's a Chayis Atzmi. It's not Stam, you say, you have, let's say, even the Ramban, I think the Ramban brings, or the Rishena bring, let's say the time of Kashrus, why there's one of the time and mitzvahs for Kashrus is Pashat for health. Because or Kayetzev is it. So it could be Stam as a reason. It's the Rambam on a very basic level, the time and mitzvah of not stealing, let's say, is in order to preserve other people's things, or in order why kashrus in order for a person to have a healthy diet. B'shas the Chassidus brings a hergesh that this it's not just as a technical time. That's an expression that it's because the Eibusher is Ein Sof. The goodness of a mitzvah is also expressed in a technical in a basic goodness that is much healthier. But there's nirgash achayis atzmi in this time. It's not stam as a chitzenistic reason. This chitzenistic reason expresses because mitzvahs are ratzon elyon. If it's the Eibusher's ratzon, so it's going to be good on all levels. That Chassidus brings in a certain chayis atzmi in every Indian that a person knows. And every Indian pshat to them is just said. Every Indian Kabbalah, a certain the Rebbe brings a dogma. I'm not for Dashna Zifel, but trying to bring out the Indian. So not only the chayis atzmi, but this chayis get a verstand in the pshat. Get pashat the verstand. Behirus v'emek yeser ba'avanas ha'inyan. Yes, nicht as a pashat. I'm saying even besides what there is Maamar here, but a yid that learns Chassidus, so he has more of a clarkite and more of a havana and emek pashat in other Inyona that he learns. And if you don't have a shaykhus to Chassidus, so there's a certain clarkite or a certain depth of understanding or certain thoroughness that you're lacking. That's it. Yeah. Azeder emes. Yeah. Okay. Dugmal azeb nigla Torah. No emes is nicht kein pasht Indian. Dugmal azeb nigla Torah of Allah. This is very interessant. I've never brought this many times, but it's a very strong Indian. Kol Avedas Imak put him in a Ksheres Elabay. Became God. I mean, the statement Furish in Torah that Avedas, it's not this. The Allah Aziz Dr. Rambam that all the Avedas Hayeh, even the Tmidim, there's in Kippur, so there's the Avedas Ram Yuchat for Yom Kippur, the Par, the Soyer, the different, and then there is the Avedas they do every day. The fact that being a carbon Talmud in Kippur is not because in Kippur is a chiv to bring a carbon Talmud. Every day you have to bring a carbon Talmud, or every Yom Tiv is a carbon Musaf. The Avedas Hayeh, so not the Rama Pascha is not only the Avedas Hayeh has to be done by the Kohen God. Even the Tmidim, which every day a Kohen Hedit can bring a carbon Talmud. Yom Kippur, Kol Avedas in a Ksheres Elabay. It's 3 days. If it's Midei Raisa, if it's Midei Rabbanon. But I think the Mashmos of the Rambam is, it's not clear. There's no clear limud from a pasuk. The fact that Avedas Hayim has to be with Kedosh Tate Mefurish, V'chiper HaKohen Asher Yim Shachtata, the pasuk says clearly that the Avedas HaMiyuchodes of the Yim has to be done through a King God, Kedosh Tate Mefurish. But Legabe, the other Avedas Hayim, as he passed in the Rambam, that's much. The Gemara says it also, but the question is the Kana Midei Rabbanon or it's a Din Dei Raisa. For the Rambam's Mashal is a Din Dei Raisa. So the Shavar is Mevayer. Why is that? Because Kameish Kedusha Yom Kippur. Ma'id Allah Veda Michadas Yom Kippur. The same way, Yom Kippur is a higher level of Kedusha. There's the Kedusha of Shabbos, the Kedusha of Yom Tiv. Musaf of Shabbos can be done through a Kohen Hedit too. The carbon the carbon of Shabbos, which is a special carbon, let's say a Musaf, it's more Mekudesh than the carbon Talmud. That could be also a Kohen Hedit kind of smackers. Mashaykin the Kedusha of Yom Kippur, which is a higher degree of Kedusha. So it has to be done through a Kohen God. So L'chore, Meiled Avedas Hayim, which stem mitzad Yom Kippurim, the Sar Mishtaleach, the Sar Nasa B'fnim, or the Kteris, the Kedesh Kadashim. That's an Aveda, which is Neveah mitzad the special Kedusha of Yom Kippur. So that the Kedusha of Yom Kippur demands a Kohen, which is on a higher level, the Kohen God. But L'chore Avedas Atmidim, Talmud Yad Taka Kohen Hedit is Makar Carbon Talmud. There's nothing to do with the Kedusha of Yom Kippur. So Abdem Zakman that since this day of Yom Kippur, all the Inyona which happen in Kippur are imbued with the Kedusha of Yom Kippur. The carbon tamid you mark it every single day, but the tamid of Yom Kippur is an underserved carbon tamid. It's affected by the kedusha same of Yom Kippur. As Rebbe says, as you're going to say, Yom Kippur first of all is a regular day, it's a basic day. And then there's a extra day 7 kedusha. Where is that kedusha expressed? In certain things, but then it's a basic day. We say no. The basic day is affected by the kedusha of Yom Kippur. It's not something to say suffer in one aspect of the day. This whole day is different. So even the basic musagma of this day is the skadish kedusha of Yom Kippur. So the Rebbe says, Azabar. Kamesh kedusha Yom Kippur ma'ila laveda michedes Yom Kippur. Kachi pe'eles gam ba'atmidin u'musafin, in case of Hazat Tivi and Shabbos, ha'mishtaychem tzadatzim l'choli me'esham, shegam heim miskachim t'sosha Yom Kippur. So the question is, does the carbon tamid Yom Kippur become base carbon tamid? It's a carbon tamid. It's a carbon they bring every single day. But Yom Kippur brings in a new light in carbon tamid. It stays the same carbon tamid, but it's carbon tamid the way it's a result of the etzem. It's not the mitzvah kedusha Yom Kippur. It's a higher kedusha. So then, carbon tamid is something which has nothing to do with a higher level of kedusha. A day in the Beis Hamikdash, you have to make a carbon to the Eibishter. As a day, not as Yom Kippur. But Yom Kippur brings in the kedusha of Yom Kippur brings in a whole different eichus in the basic Inyona, the basic aveda v'yid on a daily basis. The same idea that Rebbe is saying here. A dark of the yichid pnimius, the etzem, is not a certain layer. It's the inner core of everything. And it brings in a whole different light in the Inyona, the way they are al pi pshat also. Shigam heim is kashim to Yom Kippur. I'm saying people have videos and things, I don't know who, but I'm saying this is nothing to do, if someone asks me if it's worth recording this, I don't know, but I'm saying, but people have a time sometimes that certain things that there's basic Yiddishkeit before Chassidus. Yeah, basic Torah mitzvahs, the Shakras, Mincha, Meir. When Chassidus came was Meisif, Nu Inyona. But in the basic things, as Zevi Amol, in order to basic sukkah, so you don't have to, the fact that by Chassidim, when came sukkahs, you shake the Rebbe's Lulav and Esrog. Everything had to do with with the Kohen Gadol, like the Rebbe is saying here. You know, l'chora, the dvarim nisafim, Maamar Chassidus, so does different onkum with the Kohen Gadol. But l'chora, the basic things, which Yidden did these basic things, yarn them, but Shat mitzad the Gid of Eirach Chassidus, so everything was affected by it. It's not another layer. If it's the pnimius of everything, so then it affected that there's the chitzoni is the way it is inside the pnimius, and that's the truth of the chitzoni. It's another thing. It's not another layer. So everything is the way it results and the way it's connected to Kohen Gadol. It's another thing. Chenu gam benegel Toras HaChassidus. B'chinas Shabbos Shabbos shebeTorah. Shepe'el esi b'chol chelkei HaTorah. Yeah. Kidal, so there says, Kidal the Chalokim Pshat Remes Drusay shebeTorah. They're the three b'chinas Nefesh Ruach Neshama Chai shebeTorah. Toras HaChassidus is b'chinas Yechidah shebeTorah. So this is going to be basically what's the Rebbe saying here? Chassidus is machnis, and whatever wants to explain at the end of the day, Inyona shtes Chassidus legabi, what Chassidus affects a person in his avodas Hashem. That's the main function of the Kuntres. I'm saying the arichas in the Kuntres. How Chassidus is machnis and new. What does Chassidus demand, or what's the avodas ha'adam different mitzat Chassidus than the way it is mitzat other chalkei HaTorah? But the Rebbe brings here the chayes that Chassidus brings into a person. Elam Katan Adam is nimsha from the chayes that Chassidus brings into Torah. So the Rebbe is going to explain what Chassidus demands, or what the type of avedas is fathered to. Mizat Eirach Chassidus and avedas Adam behemshach to the chayes that Chassidus brings in Torah. That's the Rebbe doesn't speak directly how avedas Hashem is without Eirach Chassidus and how avedas Hashem is api Chassidus. It's all being masber in Torah the way it is. Api Pshat to them is just an api pnimis, and then we'll see how it affects avedas Adam. Let's get to that. We can get weiter, wo halt man? We'll go a little weiter. Should we do one order from before? Was
In our Kuntres 56.
Welche?
For you it's probably different.
That order needs Inyan B'fnei. We'll go through that, but that needs Inyan B'fnei. Maybe it's kedai to learn maybe one order from before about. Let me figure weiter noch mit sagen. Let me figure ein bisschen weiter. Inyona, this is also this siftes. This is nicht kein the whole kav is interesting kav. Inyona shebeTorah rein beribi leinkets. Und der Varbe der Chefshar Kaplan in Inyan echet beTorah k'meishu al pi pshat, al pi remez, al pi drush, al pi seid. And then the chayes, the behirus, and the emek. Toras HaChassidus machnisa b'chol dal dechalakim shabei. So the Rebbe is going to explain how this Inyan is al pi pshat pardis, how the Inyan is explained in Chassidus, and how the Chassidus brings in a new chayes, a new chayes in the four pirushim, and also a new understanding, a deeper understanding, more thorough understanding, a more clear understanding in the pirushim, the way they are al pi pardes. That was going to be mavar. Mimenu nilma chekenu b'chol inyan shebetayr. So welche inyan someone is klar? Tayr is doch ein sof. You have to choose one inyan. Which inyan should we choose? Welche sugya? So it was like the sugya is this inyan shnifcha yishe v'tur dugma who made anil fanach. I don't know if it was considered an inyan in Tayr. People would take us as the made anil fanach against an inyan in Tayr. But inyan shnifcha yishe v'tur dugma who made anil fanach. First of all, what's the reason for Meidani? Why is it such a central inyan in Torah? Okay, there was three things. First of all, Mekivan Shala Adam Lahargal Atzmei Leimar Meidani Miyat Kshnir Mishnasi. Vayidei Zeh Yiskar Hashem Ha'emed Olav Yakim B'Zizis. That's Alter Rebbe's lashon, that a person has to be margal himself to say Meidani right when he wakes up, and not that the purpose is in order to remember. Vayidei Zeh. Through that, the person is margal himself to say Meidani right in the morning. He's going to always remember the Eibusher. Yiskar Hashem Ha'emed Olav Yakim B'Zizis. Kum Tachay is that the fact that he's come b'zizos and he does what he has to do is the result of saying Meidani. As is not Alter Rebbe. Durch dem es mit Margals and sagen Meidani, durch dem wird gedenken dem Eibishter. And it's going to cause him to wake up, Yakum b'zizos, to wake up and do the Beis Hashem. That's it. The Mele Kum Tachay said, Amira Zu, Yisaid v'leija sila avedas adam. Ki im kol eira shebetera, u'lechayev v'mesha kol hayem. That's the Einzach. So the reason why the Rebbe chose Meidani is because the Yisad for the avedas Hashem of the whole day. A zweiter Zach, what's the teichen of Meidani? Teichen Amir Zu, shul yizbenin miyad lifnei mi u'sheichev lifnei melech malcham lacham kadosh baruch mishkos v'alei Shema v'saras ani modi chulu kein yachshei b'chol asakav Inyona. This nekuda of lefanecha, that the Eibush is in front of me, and that Malay Kol Aretz Kveded, that's what a person has to have in mind every single second. Kein yachshei b'chol asakav. That's supposed to be in a person's mind the entire day. V'zeh kol gadol b'teirim al tzadikim ha'hechem lifnei elikim kishkos v'shvisa shem leneg disam. So it's a meres shal derech zeh tzarich li'is kol yom kol. The teichen of Meidani, that a person is lefanecha in front of the Eibishter, that has to be in his conscience the entire day. So Meidani is something that a person, every other in the entire day, you have a sugya, meshkol varaya. First of all, it's not the estate for Avedas Kolayim. And second of all, you don't have to have it in your conscience the whole day. Or other inyan, the Dalit Minin. It's not the estate for Avedas Hashem of the whole day, and you don't have to have it the conscience in the whole day. The teichen of Meidani, that a yitz, lefanecha, that a person has to have in his mind, kolayim kolay. So it's the most Inyan, the Inyan Achi is Seidi Shibetei. Then also the Rebbe Dritte sagt that Kolan is Kolanal, Avedas Adam Lekene, Herdeza, the Akdomas Neir Mishinasi Behavle Elam. Means when you have to say, when you wake up at the same Meidani, so they're saying up Pnimi saying Yonim really. Every time a person wakes up, the first thing he has to remember is he came into the store that he's Lefanecha, that he's in front of the Eibishter, and there's a Melech that gave him his neshama. The matzav of Neir Mishnasi is a constant situation. What does a person do on a daily? As mitzateva where would a person be naturally without working on himself? He would have fell asleep. See, Begashbi is a person. You're certain moments that you're tired, and then you're up. You don't have to wake up. You're up now. You're not in a state of falling asleep. You're alert. But in Ruchnius, be'etzem, we're always ready to doze off. If you don't keep ourselves awake, be'etzem what man eingeschlafen behavli eilam has. There's always havli eilam that's being mavavelas. And I mentioned, so the matzah of Ner Mishnasei, that's every single second. Ner Mishnasei doesn't mean you're physically awake. It means that you're b'pnimius awake. You're aware of what you're supposed to do, what you're here for. So, and that's the true late of the Metzias Adam. So when you wake up in the morning, you have to thank the Eibishter for the Shazati that he gave you back in the Shaman. Because you just woke up. So every second of a person's life, he's waking up. He's waking up from the Havli Eilam and the Lake Tzacharayin and Dinah the Eibishter. That's the true Neir Mishnasi, just woke up. Davon sagen Meidani gleich. So the matziv hamachayev Meidani is a davar tvidi. Not only is the site for a whole day, not only the concept has to be there a whole day, Meidani exists the whole day. Because the true inyan of waking up is a constant thing. That means not chabir that waking up is constant. But waking up is constant. Yeah, it sounds a little bit funny, but as a doesn't the remes. בזה יובן פסגום יש עד מושב שפסעיד נשאמר במיילדוס אשר הנקודה שאחרי טבעס בחמלו this the famous Maisi given that Razah was older than the Rebbe Rashab, and the Razah was a baki in Diktuk, and at that tkufa, how old the Rebbe Rashab was, but the Rebbe Rashab was not nicht given as a baki in Diktuk with the Razah at that time. So the Razah used to like teasing the Rebbe Rashab. That so I think gefragt why then in the morning in the Alter Rebbe Siddur she'd made a little fenecha melech havekam shechzarti b'nishmasi bechemla, and then there's a period, a dot, and then it says Rabba Munasecha. I think the makir is because the statement when the Nesa Kelam and Shulchan Aruch say that it's not bechemla Rabba. The Rabba Munasecha is used on a pasuk of state in Pesachim that you're supposed to make the psik after bechemla. State in Pesachim again. But the Pol Atara has a nekuda bechemla and then Rabba Munasecha. And then the Raza asked him that in Krishma, Birchas Krishma, we say Avas Yom Aftan Hashem Lekena Chemla Gdela B'Seira. Steht Echet Chemla, and there's no nekuda. That's the effect by the Rebbe Rashab. So the Rebbe Rashab told him that the nekuda is in the morning. The rest of the day, that from der nekuda verspreiten the ganze Tag. That was the answer. That the nekuda is in the free. And then, why Birchas Krishma B'Chemla, you don't have a nekuda, because the Veda of Shachris is that the nekuda is al durchnemen the ganze Mensch. This is also, what the Rebbe is saying over here all the time is that in a way Chassidus is the nekuda. This is not the pashut pshat here, but I'm just saying. I'm just free innovating. Sagt der Drash. Wir sehen bis kam ich Adam schon Shams den schon mehr das. Asher nekuda shachet heves becham le shmei dani, צריכים לפייש דפננדה שפריטן על כל הים כולי. כי בכל רגע ורגע שבמשך כל הים צריך לי יסעבד את המדעני. That was interesting. The concept that the Rebbe is speaking here, the Chassidus is a nekuda pnimis, which is beyond the pratis dika madrigas, but it brings in a chayis in all the pratim. So al derech zeh, what did Rebbe Rashab say? There's the nekuda. The nekuda itself is a nekuda pshuta, not a tzir pratim. There's a nekuda of a yid's immer gemekai to the Eibishter. That nekuda has to, and has to affect and it has to bring a chayis into every single pratim. So this word is a gewisser. Chassidus is not another prat in Avos Hashem. It's the nekuda of everything. And this nekuda, so the nekuda itself is higher than prat. The Nachdam is fanatisch spreiten in prat. Okay. So Lamer Zen, before we start the Meidani, we'll see. The Elam could choose. Ich trachte as it on to learn just the sif about why here out of 40.
It's going to be different than us. How does it start?
It's not why. It's just
The numbers are a little off.
Kirak mitzaseh der shlasha shebetayr.
Whereas it's 43.
Sivav. In Sivav, so the Rebbe brings the Chassidus Amshach of Yechida. So some nekudas that the Rebbe spoke many times in order 40. The Rebbe explains how the 4 biyurim that he brings in the beginning of the Kuntres, how it's neveya mitzad Amshach of Yechida, mitzad Amshach Ha'etz. Is that order 43? Is it order 43? Is that this? Yeah. Kirak mitzaseh der shlasha shebetayr yesh nagbola zu. This Akbala that there is Inyonim which are mufshit, and there's Inyonim which are shaychus tegili. Pnimi satero, Inyoni Kabbalah are Sikh or Inyonim which are say more edle Inyonim. They're Inyonim of Pshitis. They're not shaychus to Seichel Enushi. And then there's Chelik HaNigla Shebetayr which are shaychus to Seichel Enushi. That's Mitzaseh der Shlashlos. There's a system. There's certain things that are ruchni, certain things that are more basic, certain things that Azak Kedi can verstehen, Atzvede Kedi can verstehen. The Etzem is beyond all these definitions. The Etzem, the Eibishter himself is beyond all these Inyonim. And mitzad the Etzem, there's no Hakbala of the whole system of Metzias is really, the fact that there is a system is all for the sake of a certain kavanah, but there's no true Hakbalas. So Chassidus is Shara from the Etzem of Torah, which is beyond these Hakbalas. So there's this Hagdara that there's certain Inyanim which Seichel we mekabel, certain Inyanim which are not shaychus to Gili, certain Inyanim which are shaychus to Gili. They're Hakbalas in Zvat Gavar. He says, "Kirak mitzaseh der shlashlo shebetayr yesh Hakbalas." Shechal kapshat remos drush betayr yu begili v'chelik hased yu behel. Am tzad etzem hu satayr b'chinas yichida in chilik in chelik hased shelo l'shar chalakim v'gam hased yachol yis begili. The etzem is not mugdar, is not defined. If it's not defined, so that you don't have this agdara that said is not shaychus to say. That agdara doesn't exist inside the etzem. So one of the expressions of the etzem is that the gdarim of seder shlashlos is from his bat. This Inyan 44. This is an important Inyona what the Rebbe says here. The Rebbe had gesagt, the Rebbe brings 2 biyurim which he brought before. What was the kavanah, the ufto of Chassidus? One Inyan is that the Chassidus hat aufgetan, the Anhaga Shebila in the Eifen of the Flim Shiur Sadin. Und der zweite Inyan sagt that Chassidus hat aufgetan, that L'shan is Teva Midaisa. So was hat es zu tun with the fact that Chassidus is Mamshech the Yechid of Toras? The Rebbe is Mevar. Mitzad Pchinas Nevesh Ruach Neshama Chaya, Ha'adam hu Mitziyus Yadayim, Elo Sho'evid hu Azbeirei. Nefesh Ruach Neshama is there's the connection to Lukus is based on a certain seal. Let's say Ruach is Midas. So what's a person's relation to the Eibishter? Through having Avos Hashem, through Yiras Hashem. So the person is a certain Metzias. There's a someone which relates to the Eibishter in a certain form. So there's a person. There's the Mitzad Darg of Nefesh Ruach and Neshama Chaya. There isn't only the Nekud of the Eibishter himself. There's a person, and there's the way this person, according to the Yer Tchunis, Midas are neschaber to the Eibishter through sensing the Eibishter's Chesed. And then, as I mentioned, this Eremet Av. You say Kol Chush Tefes Mokshe. With the fact that they say the vision of something, the eyes are able to sense the sight of something, and the smell, the nose is able to sense. So there is with what does seichel connecting to a certain object? What does seichel connect to? Seichel connects with the logic of an Inyan, and the person's heart, the regesh connects, the midas connect with the emotions of it, with the regesh of it. Everything is so mitzad nefesh ruach neshama chaya, the darg of ruach, let's say, which is midas. How does Bal Midas connect to the Eibishter? So someone which Inyona is Avis, so when he's misbedded, the fact that the Eibishter is Chesed, so he's this area with a feeling that the Eibishter is Toiv, he's this area with a regesh towards the Eibishter. So he's a certain Metzias, he has a certain style, a certain persona, a certain tzir, and he ernem telekuz leit zayin tzir. That's the Rebbe Shlomo Shemachai. Someone which Inyona is Meichen. So how is it going to be Meichen? How does Meichen connect to Lekuz? A Lekuz, the way Lekuz is mitztayer and Meichen. And Midas connects to the Eibishter, the Lekuz is mitztayer and Midas. And someone which Inyona is bittul shalamayla mitam v'das. So he connects to Lekuz the way Lekuz is mechayiv and Inyona, but there's never shalamayla mitam v'das. Every tzir is tefes Lekuz behesem to that tzir. So that's the Rebbe says. So mitzad never shloch neshama chaya. Before this Galas HaChassidus, before was this Gal the Pchin of Yichida of the Eibishter, the Yichida of Torah, the Yichida of a Yid. It's all connected. So the Yid, so mitzad, there's a world where there's a person, and how does he connect to the Eibishter? He connects to the Eibishter according to that aspect of the Holocaust which relates to his tzir. So mitzad that darge gate. So there's no tnu of higher than his mitzias. Every mitzias according to the way Holocaust relates to his tzir. That's the way he's mischaber with Holocaust. So he's mischaber to which in Holocaust is he teifes? A darge in Holocaust which relates to his mitzias. So that's the nekuda of there's no musik of the shanis teva midaisa. He's a mitzias. He is what he is. And he relates to the Eibishter according to the way the Eibishter suits with his mitzias. Mashing Chassidus is megale that a kesher of a yid to the Eibishter beyond any tzir. Not the way the Eibishter connects to a person within a certain form. There's an Nekuda of Holocaust which is beyond any tzir. And that's the premise of every single yid. And since that premise is not defined to be dafke in a aloof way, so it also affects every seichel amidus too. But it's a seichel amidus the way the result of an etzem. It's different seichel amidus. Before this, Galas HaChassidus, a person was a person. Chassidus had ufgetan the be'etzem is the yid, which is one thing with the Eibishter. He's a person also. That's also a prat in the Kavanah. So that's the shanis teva midaisa. So I was saying the other day of someone that you see, you have one tzir is since Mitzvah was gelernt Kovetz refuah. So Mele, what Inyona Beis Hashem is misyacher to this person, he has to serve Hashem b'chol masechel Hashem shemayim. Or be'etzem is a yid, be'etzem he has an neshama that's beyond this tzir or that tzir. But the etzem has no limit in how it expresses itself. So it expresses itself through all ways, also through the way of kavanah l'shem shemayim. It's not that his keshet halukus is limited to the Inyan of kol masechel l'shem shemayim. His keshet halukus is blikvul. But the kavanah is that this blikvul should also be expressed in the fact that it's kol masechel l'shem shemayim. That's the shanis teva midayis. Shanis teva midayis of haste, not the shanis teva midayis. A person has his tchunis, he has his nature. He's a kind person. So vasmantzach von him is to give tzedakah. See, if vasmantzach von him, he shouldn't be a dayan. He shouldn't be a dayan giving malchus because das mantzach is von him because his tzir is not gvur, his tzir is chesed. So then his midas, his mitzias stays the way his mitzias is, and then he takes a lekuz according to the way a lekuz suits his mitzias. Chassidus is be'etzem every yid is connected to the Eibishter beyond any tzir. But then the kavanah is that you should use that. There's the kavanah is that a lekuz should be expressed through all forms. So from dort stammt the fact that this person has tchunas of chesed. It's not that because you're a bal chesed, therefore you're only able to relate to one aspect. The fact that the Eibishter created you with midas chesed, that means that the kavanah Inyona by you is that your connection to the Eibishter should be expressed by giving chesed. So that's the shanis teva midas. Bilam hert minyan. So now another tfis, huh? As the Rebbe says. So it says, mitzad b'chinas nefesh ruach neshama chaya ha'adam hu mitzius yadai. El sho'evidu es beir. And he relates to the Eibusher according to the way the Eibusher suits his mitzvahs. It means he's a mitzvah. This person's a kind person. This person is he's a masmid, so his kav is going to be learning. He's more of a bar peil. His kav is going to be an asin tziburi. Kol echad lefi afani. He relates to the Eibusher in his way. Kivan should be mitzius. It's the first kid. The Rebbe sagt, the Rebbe let us not say hechel eifen. Kivan should be mitzius. Wie bald as hari kavanos Rabbi Dossi b'shvil hagiluim. Shebechlol zeu inin hanoga al pidin. What's the pashas to get musik al pidin? You say, I'm doing it. I'm a person, and there's certain duties that I have. So I'm doing this mitzvah in order to be yaitze the chiyuv that I have. I'm not doing it because the only thing that exists is the mitzvah. I mean, there's a person, and there's certain duties that I have, and I have up to the duties that I have. So he's doing the Inyan the way it relates to him. This is more on Eidela Eifin. Mitzad Nefesh Ruach Neshama Chaya, a person is Tevis Elokus according to his Kalim. If you're Tevis according to your Kalim, so you're only Tevis Elokus the way Elokus relates to Mitzvahs, Elokus relates to Tzir. And B'meila, you say, a Yid's Inyona Yiseichel, let's say. What's his connection to Elokus? The way Elokus is Nirgash and Seichel. How is Elokus Nirgash and Seichel? That the Eibush is the deepest thing. So when he does a mitzvah, when he's doing Ratzna Elyon, how does he relate to the Eibush? That is the greatest thing in the world. So he also gains something from doing the mitzvah. There isn't only the kiyum of the Eibush's Ratzna. There's a mavukish. A yid which is tfisa, which his Inyona is seichel, and he relates to the Eibush the way the Eibush is gala in seichel. So elukus, he values elukus according to how much elukus is understood by him. So when he does a mitzvah, besides for the fact that he's doing a mitzvah, he's doing the Eibush's Ratzna, he values it. Is that the Inyan in there? Because he values elukus. Mashiach said B'chinas Yechida, but B'chinas Yechida is not the Eibush. There isn't my mitzvahs. There isn't my appreciation of elukus. There's a yid's whole mitzvah is. So when he's doing a mitzvah, Sehertzach is mitzvahs. Sehertzach is his yoker in the mitzvah. It's Ratzna Elyon being the smaller. Versteht ihr mich? So kann man das schon gelernt. And there was Kigam B'chinas Chayish is a mavukish. It's not the Prat. I mean, it's the but that's number one. Number two, Leine Shtan Teva Mideisa. Actually, Menatzels with this love Savai. His mitzvah is weiß nicht. Mashenki mitzat B'chinas Yechida mizbatel hu mitzius legam. The Rebbe is going to touch in the Hemshech Kuntres, Yechida is on Meir Zan by Yechida. So the Chassidus is not only man, but Chassidus brings out a whole different tzir, a whole different eifin in Avedas Hashem. That it's Sudan Eibishter, nothing to do with his mitzvahs. And that's a limited gazach. There's the premise of a yid, we're there, there's nothing besides for bittul to the Eibishter. Not a tzir which relates to the Eibishter in a certain way, behesim to the tzir. Kol Mahusay is, mitzat B'chinas Yechidas, the achtos of the Eibishter himself. And it's at that point of view, a yid does a mitzvah, there's no say mix of his own feeling towards the mitzvah, of his own value towards the mitzvah. It's the Eibishter's mitzvah. His hergish doesn't exist there at all. It's not the Eibishter's kavanah. That's mitzvah B'chinas Yechida. So l'chein ain't shum mavukish b'avidase. That's not hagel for me. Likt in the minyan. It's not about what the Inyan, how the Inyan relates to me. It's not about his chay. It's the Inyan itself. And the second thing is the shtanegam teva midese. Mikvura leches meches legvura. That's something else. Then it's nirgash. Be'etzim is that's the kavanah. And his tzir is his battle. It's not only tzir is his battle, but also the tfis and the tzir is in a different way. Better slam. Huh? I say the Rebbe touches here with a yid mitzat b'chinas yechida, so is someone which is kaves chesed could be mishabach to the kaves gvura. That's a g'dei HaChasidim that they're shini ateva. Because Chassidus is regarded the Yechida, and from the point of view of Yechida, there's no Gdarim, there's no Tzir. But I'm saying is, even when there's no Shinyat Teva, but, Shal, what's the Anocha? Is the Anocha, I'm doing this because this is my ability to do, or because this is where the Eibusher placed me? It's not about, it's a different, the Rebbe is being mitzayret in a way that a Yid became Mamish Chassidus at Ashpa Pnimis, that his Avedas Hashem is based on Pnimis Yechida. And in such a Eifin, even if his tchunis are ave, he'll have yiras Hashem. He'll be on a makbid and you have to understand this Sipur Chasidim azalcha. Yidden that their kav was more of a kav of gvura, and they were neshapich to the kav of chesed. Why? Because there was this gal over them, their primis anashama. So the primis anashama, their connection to Lukus is beyond any tzir, and that became their life. Lupail. Yes, Inyona mamukim.
Is there ever a room inside the shul that a person should have a person's appreciation for a mitzvah? A person's like
because that's the kavan. Of course. No, it's going to be nirgash. The truth is the Eibusher is beyond my appreciation. And mitzvah the Eibusher himself, there's no need of my appreciation. But That's my appreciation is not what it's about. But once you have the Eibishter is unlimited. You can appreciate him too. That's from a different angle.
It's not like the mitzvah, it's not the Eibishter.
Verstehst, that's a different angle. There is because everything's about my appreciation. You have one kav in Yiddishkeit. There's a person and he relates to the Eibishter according to how much he's able to handle, or how much his mitzvah relates to. Or there's an Eibishter which has nothing to do with me. Because you're connected to the Eibishter, so there's no limit in what way you could experience it. So you could also value it. But that's because the Eibishter is unlimited, not because that's your Inyan. Says the meaning.
I've never had a person that.
So this is not Shelo Tzir. Shelo's not, but it's Shelo that things are not based on the Tzir.
Okay, but you're giving a certain.
Once you have the etzem is Ein Sof, so you can appreciate it too. It's not based on appreciation. That appreciation is not a stimulant to the Nikud. This is nicht kein Post Inyan. Lass uns dann ein bisschen weiter. The artists, the one about the Kabbalah, the Welt meint das Kabbalah is very HaChassidus, we'll have to see it bis Yashvus. That's huh? Yeah, but you're going, the Rebbe is not speaking about the technicalities of the Gdorim of Din of Finishers. The Rebbe is speaking about the Tnua and Aveda. The Rebbe is not speaking about Pratim. You have a missing in Pirkei Avos. The Rebbe is saying, what's the Tnua? The Tnua is there's a person and he has his entity, and then Elokus, the way Elokus relates to him. Or there's the Eibush himself, which is ain't safe. And the person's only here for that. It's not the way the Inyan relates to me. There's an Inyan which is far beyond me. And if I get, I'm here for that Inyan. So what type of Tnua Avodas Hashem? Din is that I am who I am. And then there's certain duties that I have towards the Eibush. I have certain, Shiur. There's no Inyan, there's no Ratzin beyond the Gdorim of my mitzvahs. Here's why you're doing the mitzvah. Because I have a certain obligation that I have to fulfill. There's about fulfilling something which I am obligated to do. The Flim Shor Sadin is, let's say the Da'al Minin. I don't know the dogma of the Flim Shor Sadin, but let's say what I'm saying is there's a Nivra has his limitations. How much could you demand from him to have Avos Yisrael? How much could you demand from him? Whatever, you can't demand from Mamash Kamaycha. So Alpidin, you don't demand more than a person is able to handle. The Flim Shor, but what is the concept itself, Mechayiv? The concept itself is that the Sa'at's Ein Etzem, that it's Kamaycha Mamash. Lepoil, when you're being Bisader Dinim, you can't demand from a person more than a certain measurement. What I'm saying is the Flim Shor Sadin, even in Allah, is not, it's the concept without being Mischashiv with Agbolis and how much you can demand from a person, his limitations. It's the concept in his full taken. The Flim Shor doesn't mean hidden mitzvah. The Flim Shor is there's a mitzvah to be honest. But honesty, if you thought, let's say, to make a certain deal, we don't demand from a person that he should be honest in his mind, in his machshava. The Flim Shor Sadin is you should be honest completely. You should be fully honest. There is a person which he thought to make a certain deal. It's according to the letter, according to what's demanded, where you could demand from you living in this world, there is no perfection of honesty. So in your ma'aseh, be honest.
So why you didn't want to be demanded? And why would you care about what you thought?
It's not what we care. The Flim Shor then is the idea in the most fullest way. So you had Yidden, there's a Muslim in Allah called HaChassidus, that they lived the ideal, not the way the Inyan could be experienced by a person with his Akbalas. They lived the ideal of honesty, or the ideal of chesed. The ideal of, Azay, you can't demand from a person chesed that he should give away. You say, Chayecha Kodim. L'fnim Shor Sadin, so a person will matter on his life for someone else. You can't demand that from a person. But mitzad the musig of kiri for someone else, the ideal, theoretically speaking, it's an unlimited idea. So if a person is in his mitzvahs, so he takes every concept of Torah the way it relates to him, or according to the agbalas of his mitzvahs. Mashaykin the Flim Shor Sadin is, so the other Inyan Alein, the Amita say Inyan. And forget, he's created for the Inyan. The Rebbe speaks to him much more in the Darkest Geifim. There's the Giluyim and there's the Etzim.
Tanya says that Tzadik Gamor Layagia Layez Yesh Mishayev or needs mitzvahs. That's not speaking like Chida. It's just saying that it's Achaya.
It says in Tanya, in the darkest projects, it's not Chida. The darkest by Tzadik L'Pel should be Meir Ben Mechida Begali. But the fact that Al Rebbe is saying it, I mean, if you relate to this concept, there's a Yid which is beyond Yesh Mishayev, that's Mitzad the Gidei HaChassidus. The Pashtus, what type of chizarn is that? The Torah is saying a Yid should be married to the fact that he's a someone is a hell of a hester nolikus. and do the mitzvah, go beyond yourself at all. The moment von Ayid, why is Alter Rebbe saying such a thing? I'm saying that's all because we're already in touch with something which is beyond the mitzias of Yesh Mishayev. Yeah, but I understand the Inyona. I'm saying I don't want to make as if that I know the HaChassidus works based on what it says here. Good, Lamer Zen. We'll get a bit weiter. Unless someone has a question, we'll get a bit weiter. Sif Yud. So the Rebbe starts explaining now Meida'ani according to the Pshat Remez Drush Seid. Inyona she Meida'ani chul al pi chelik ha-Pshat sheb'Torah. I don't know if anybody saw this, but in Shulchan Aruch, this whole beer that the Rebbe gives her when they get to what Meida'ani is, steht in Shulchan Aruch. Shulchan Aruch steht Tev, I think Tev la'argal esatzmi, le'ma meyad v'koy mishnase, Meida'ani l'fanecha melech ha-Vayim. The author says, Vayidei zeh yisker, it's brought from a sefer, doesn't say that the whole reason why Meida'ani, because you can't say l'kan Hashem, you can't say the Hashem's name before, steht in the ganze beer. The Rebbe explains it here, but it doesn't say that. That's the literal meaning of the words. The basic meaning, we're thanking now, what's Alter Rebbe's lashon this either? What's Alter Rebbe's lashon there? It's glad to see what's in the right? No one remembers. Miyad Shnei Mishnase Tev Lahargal Atzmi.
This thing is the Shulchan Aruch.
No, this is it. Tev Lahargal Atzmi. But the Rebbe brings here that since the person makes up, we thank the Eibishter for giving us a life in the morning, but still you have to say Meida'ani. Why? In Shulchan Aruch and Pashas it's mashma that it's a minuk Tev. Doesn't sound like it says Achiv, but the Rebbe makes it more. Ki Achiv laheitis lazar san shama miyad kshinei mishnase. Who's that one does? When a person enjoys something, there's a chiyuv. You're going to enjoy what the Eibishter created, and then 10 minutes later, thank the Eibishter. There's a chiyuv right away. Miyad kshenan, ve'terem shenan. Kein gam a chiyuv d'berchas yidar lazar san neshama she'ana yeser g'deila v'kiladas is kol hana seprata shebe'elam u'miyad kshenir mishnase. So it does state be'emes in brachas that the Gemara says that the brachas that we make in the morning, the whole brachas hashachar, when you hear the chicken, you should right away say the minute a person gets benefit for something the Eibishter created, you have to right away thank the Eibishter, use the Koretz HaTeiv, so to speak, and thank the Eibishter for the things that the Eibishter created. That are connected to the idea of Brachas Haneni. You're enjoying something, you're not letting go enjoy it before acknowledging that there's an Eibishter which gave it to you. The Gemara's mind of thing. So does state take. Does state the Gemara Furish that Ksheyer miyad yemer l'kain Hashem. But it doesn't explain. But we can't say l'kain Hashem right when we wake up because we have Yadayim Mitunafis and have Bash in the hand. So the poil, be'etzem we're to say l'kain Hashem right away. Has to be a bracha. A bracha. Meida'ani not yet a bracha. Meida'ani is a nusach without a bracha. Called bracha she'em b'shem malchus is not a bracha. So be'etzem to say l'kain Hashem. The poil we have to wash our hands first. So mainly the first chance that you have, you wash your hands and say l'kain Hashem. But the Rebbe is saying that the chiyuv Meida'ani is miyusid because be'etzem you have to say l'kain Hashem right away. And the player not saying it right, so you say Meida'ani instead. That's state in Shloime. You see what I'm saying? That's V'yesh was l'kan Hashem v'yesu v'eskar Hashem Iyev Shalem and Achshav Kedem Tosidayim Tzarech Lahedus Lazar Hashem Yad Shnei Mishnase V'amiras Meida'ani HaKaplan. I'm saying it's not Nishkin Devar Pashat. We can't say Dingen, so to speak. The poil, since we can't say you say Shem Hashem right away, so we say it the first chance that we have. When's the first chance? After you wash your hands. You know, in Mechuyev, it's not a bracha. You say. If you hear the chicken, you should say, thank you for giving me the sechvi. You have to say Baruch Atah Hashem. If you can't say it right away, you have to wash your hands. So that's your first chance. Like the ger, but that's you're supposed to say before you table. But he's still a ger. He's still a guy. So the first chance you have, you say the bracha. After, but so whatever says in Mishnah, but you have to say L'kan Hashem right away. If you bald mekenish tzil sedayim, tzarich lahedus agam miyad. Hashem Mekom Kim tzarich lavarach achar gam b'rich L'kan Hashem. I can answer the b'rich L'kan Hashem. Yishnem kam mepan shinem Meida'ani. It says Meida'ani im b'askar Hashem. Chabar Hashem Hashem Magas ein a brach. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, but then I was saying here the api pshat, the pashtas Indian, nicht api pashtas Indian, but steht mefurish der beer. The pashtas avanas Indian, what Meida'ani means and how it relates to waking up in the morning. But I'm saying the Menusach, Pisa move on. Why is that Pisa moving? Because it's not Mefurish. The beer that Rebbe says till now is not Mefurish in the Pesach. Pisa move on since the whole Nakud of Meida'ani is to replace the L'kain Hashem. Move on, Shemizman Hashas, there was no Meida'ani, it was a second later. Meida'ani, it is a V'chinish of L'kain Hashem. V'ad Rabbi Kinis Kalid. Mashitzrichu Lemer, Gam Achshav, Gam Meida'ani, Han Rakadei Shadot, Tim Yad K'shnei Mishnasi. V'imem, Shem V'arach L'kain Hashem, Yad K'shnei Mishnasi, L'yitzrichu Lemer, Meida'ani. Das ist HaChassidus ist das. HaChassidus, means to sagen, it's not mefurish, this beer. Inyona shemedani al pichelik harem shebetayra. Hazar shenhom chaveker remezes the chiyas hamesim. What's the hint in Medani? The hint is, when a person wakes up in the morning, there's a remez to chiyas hamesim. Kishina yechem neshishim b'misa, b'meila hazar shenhom me'ein chiyas hamesim. And that's the pshat that's brought in Svarim. What's the pshat? Shazarta bin neshmasi rabba munasecha. That the fact that the Eibush gives you back in the Neshama is mechazik the emunah in chiyas hamesim. Das steht in Medrash, this beer. So what's the Nubayda? So there's, when a person wakes up in the morning, there's a Tchias HaMeisim is Merum is waking up in the morning, and Tchias HaMeisim, and B'meila, it's Mechazik the emunah in Tchias HaMeisim. Meila shein Nubayda Ani, Apichelik Apsha Drush. Drush means hint, the simple wake up in the morning, you're sleeping and you woke up. There's a hint, there's a remez to Tchias HaMeisim, which is vite from waking up in the morning. Drush means, it's not that we're there's something hinted here. We learn from this to something else. We're not, the pshat is the basic meaning of this phenomenon. Drush is how this phenomenon teaches me something else. He says, Inyona shemedani al pichelik hatush b'terech hazar shem l'chol beker chadash l'mod kodem asher kadosh baruch hu is machzir la'odem s'shmaz shkida es levei l'marka b'adachiv she'odem chayiv lei. The Eibishter person, we owe a lot of things to the Eibishter. And the Eibishter gives us back in the Neshama in the morning, even though we didn't fulfill our duties towards him. It shows the Eibishter's loyalty. We gave it to him b'derech bikot, and he gives it back to us. This Inyan, we're going to see later, is also Mishkan Pashta Inyan. But das steht in Zayar, that we learn from Eda Ani, the same way the Eibishter, we give it as a bikot, and the Eibishter is loyal to us, he gives it back to us, even though we could have kept it. There's a negate to a person, that even if someone gave you a pikad and you had to hold his watch for him, the pile he owes you $50, and the only way to get your money that he owes you is by keeping his watch. You're neman, and we learn from the Meida Ani, we learn to give back the watch and not to be ma'akiv, the pikad and ba'ad achivis. We'll see the prat. Meida Ani api chelik hasayit in Kabbalah, Retzach, what's the shadish of the Hazaras and Neshama? That's Meida Ani in Kabbalah. The shadish of the Hazaras and Neshama, a person wakes up in the morning. Pshat is the literal phenomenon of waking up in the morning. Sight is the shadish in Ilma Salyanim for waking up in the morning. So in Kabbalah, state Melech Havekayim, that's B'chinas Malchus, K'meshim Yuchet, is B'chinas Hayisei. His Melech is Vers HaMalchus, Havekayim is Vers Hayisei. And that's the Pshat, Melech Havekayim is Zaraz B'nishmasi, Hazaras and Shama B'am, B'chinas HaMalchus, K'meshim Yuchet, is B'chinas Hayisei. Yeah, we'll see the Ilma Zayin, that Dienst Menach. Kleiner bisschen weiter, okay. This is, here starts the Nekudas Inyona.